Welcome back to VeloView. Today we are going to dive into something that feels both nostalgic and futuristic at the same time, the idea of the 2026 Chevrolet Corvette C1. Now for those who know, the C1 was the very first Corvette, a true American icon that ran from 1953 to 1962. It was simple, elegant, and set the stage for the long legacy of Corvette as America's sports car. But what happens when you imagine Chevrolet bringing that design back in a modern interpretation? That is where the speculation and dream comes in, a 2026 C1 that merges the soul of the original with the power, performance, and technology of today's Corvette lineup. Let's take this idea apart in detail and picture what it could really be like. When we talk about performance, the heart of any Corvette has always been its engine. The imagined revival of a 2026 C1 has been tied to a modern 6.2-liter V8, supercharged or naturally aspirated depending on trim, with estimates running as high as 650 horsepower and 650 pound-feet of torque. That kind of muscle is very much in line with the current Corvette performance family. It would likely be paired with an 8-speed dual-clutch transmission, sharp, fast, and designed to keep the car always in the right gear whether on a track or on a scenic highway cruise. With this kind of setup, you can expect blistering acceleration, 0 to 60 in the sub-3-second range, easily playing in the same league as modern supercars. Even though the original C1 was front-engine, the possibility exists that a revival could take advantage of the current mid-engine C8 platform, and that would mean far better balance, improved handling, and a driving experience that feels connected and modern while still paying tribute to the original. The styling is where most enthusiasts' hearts beat faster. The C1 was known for its rounded edges, those beautiful curved fenders, the dual headlights, the long hood, and the unmistakable side coves that defined its character. A 2026 version would keep those cues but sharpen them with LED lighting, aggressive aero detailing, larger wheels, and a more planted stance. Imagine seeing those old-school chrome accents mixed with carbon fiber details, a two-tone paint job with bright side panels, and a lower, wider, meaner overall look that still instantly calls back to the 50s. The aerodynamics would be hidden in the design, with active splitters, diffusers, and underbody channels giving it modern downforce without ruining the retro charm. The wheels would likely be massive compared to the originals, maybe 20 inches up front and 21 or 22 in the back, wrapped in performance rubber that glues the car to the road. Step inside, and you'd expect the biggest contrast between old and new. The original C1 was simple, with classic gauges and a minimal dashboard. A 2026 reinterpretation would probably keep retro-styled instrument clusters but modernize them with high-resolution digital displays that mimic the look of analog dials. In the center, you'd have a state-of-the-art infotainment system, a large touchscreen with all the connectivity features like Apple CarPlay, Android Auto, wireless charging, and even augmented reality navigation. The seats would be deeply bolstered sports seats, trimmed in premium leather or Alcantara, with contrast stitching inspired by vintage designs. Everything would be laid out to balance nostalgia and technology, mixing brushed aluminum, carbon fiber, and classic leather. Sound systems would be high-end, maybe Bose or AKG with 12 to 14 speakers, giving you crystal clear audio while you blast down the road. Comfort and practicality wouldn't be forgotten, even though it's a two-seater. Corvette engineers would likely fit a small frunk up front and some rear storage space, though you wouldn't buy this car to haul luggage. Ride comfort would be controlled by adaptive suspension, with settings ranging from smooth and forgiving in comfort mode to razor-sharp in track mode. Magnetic ride control, already a Corvette staple, would be refined further for this model, ensuring you can cruise comfortably or carve corners at speed with just the twist of a dial. Driving dynamics would be thrilling. Imagine the sound of a naturally aspirated or supercharged V8 howling through a performance exhaust tuned to blend the deep burble of a classic Corvette with the sharp crackles of a modern performance car. The handling would be precise, with electronic power steering tuned for feedback, advanced traction systems to keep all that power usable, and carbon ceramic brakes to bring you to a halt just as quickly as you launch forward. You would get different drive modes, everything from eco and touring to sport, track, and possibly even customizable modes where you can fine-tune throttle response, steering weight, suspension stiffness, and exhaust sound. Of course, a car like this isn't just about numbers, it's about emotion. The C1 revival would appeal to people's memories and imaginations. For older enthusiasts, it would bring back the feeling of the 50s but with none of the compromises. For younger buyers, it would be something fresh and unique, a chance to own a car that blends retro design with cutting-edge technology. It would stand out in a world of aggressive hypercars and electric super sedans, offering something timeless yet modern. But challenges would exist. Designing a car that looks like the original while meeting modern safety and aerodynamic requirements is extremely difficult. Cooling would be another issue, as modern high-horsepower engines need huge amounts of airflow, which means vents and intakes that could clash with the smooth retro body lines. Engineers would need to be very clever, hiding these functional elements without losing the purity of the shape. Interior packaging might also be tight, as the long hood and low roofline don't naturally lend themselves to headroom and visibility. And then, of course, there's the price. A car like this would not be mass-produced. It would likely be a limited edition or even a coach-built model, meaning six-figure prices at least, and possibly much higher if done in very small numbers. When compared to Chevrolet's actual 2026 Corvette lineup, which includes cars like the Z06, the hybrid E-Ray, and the upcoming ZR1, a C1 revival would be more of a statement piece than a core model. Those modern Corvettes are focused on outright performance and technology, but a C1 reboot would aim more for emotion, heritage, and exclusivity. It would be less about lap times and more about being the car that makes people stop, stare, and feel something. So if Chevrolet ever decides to make such a car, it would instantly become a collector's dream, a rolling piece of art with the speed and capability to back up its looks. It would not only celebrate Corvette's history but also push the brand into new territory by embracing retro design in a high-tech, modern package. That wraps up our detailed look at what a 2026 Chevrolet Corvette C1 revival could be. If you enjoyed this review and want more deep dives into cars that blend history, speculation, and future performance, don't forget to subscribe to my channel VeloView and stay tuned for more.